You need to leave because Rowan and his wife, Robyn, are coming back for their childbirth," my husband exclaimed loudly. I asked for clarification, and he nodded with a smile. "If it weren't for you, things would be smooth," he added. "I've always thought so. I despise people who always argue with their so-called logical reasoning. There are plenty of other women out there. Just because we've been together for a long time doesn't mean we have to stay together forever." It was my husband who made this bold statement. Whatever troubles he may face in the future, it's no longer my concern. He might think he can just sleep it off and forget, but not this time. He should take responsibility for his words. My name is Ophelia, and I'm 55 years old. Currently, I live with my husband, Donovan, just the two of us. Donovan is 60 years old, 5 years my senior. He recently retired, seeming pleased, saying, "Maybe I'll take it easy from now on and enjoy some fishing as a hobby." Meanwhile, I run a small but successful apparel business, which is doing quite well, thankfully. The reason we can afford an apartment with a bit higher rent is thanks to this business. Donovan used to be supportive, but things changed after his retirement. First, his daily routine changed. Now that he's retired and always at home, he has many days with no plans. As a result, he started to lead a more relaxed lifestyle, with an increase in days spent lounging around. He would stay up late watching TV or sleep past noon. If it's occasionally, that's fine, but when it continues for several days, I can't help but become concerned. Even when I suggested, "We're not young anymore, maybe we shouldn't disrupt our daily routine so much," he wouldn't listen. Instead, he would snap at me, saying, "I've worked hard all my life. Let me do what I want. Don't tell me what to do." Another issue was his boredom. He had few friends to begin with, and his only hobby was fishing alone. After retirement, he seemed to have too much free time. What he started doing was nitpicking my housework. Frankly, housework is not my forte due to my busy work schedule. I rely heavily on the latest home appliances. I depend on a cleaning robot for cleaning and electronic cooking devices for meals. But my husband didn't like that. "These robots can't possibly clean every nook and cranny. It's more reliable to do it by hand," he argued. Saying such things, he forced me to do the mopping. Additionally, there was a time when he complained about the dinner. "Stew should be slowly cooked in a pot with high-quality wine. It won't taste good with cheap wine," he argued. Even though he had never cared before, he started imposing his preferences on me. At times, he would even say, "Stop looking for easy ways out, you lazy housewife." I would consider his requests if I had the time, but I'm too busy with work to have such leisure time. After all, if he's retired and has free time, he could do it himself. When I pointed this out, he got furious and said, "Just because you're working, don't get too full of yourself." I couldn't help but understand why some people opt for a divorce later in life. Still, I endured, thinking of all the hard work we've put in over the years. But then something happened that made him even more unbearable. That something was the pregnancy of our son's wife, our only son, Rowan. He and his wife, Robyn, announced that she was pregnant. Rowan and I are not blood related. He is Donovan's child from a previous marriage. Donovan and I remarried when Rowan was about 10 years old. Upon hearing the pregnancy news, Donovan was ecstatic. "Our first grandchild! Yes, it's exciting," he exclaimed. I was happy too, but Donovan's joy was extraordinary. I think he was experiencing what you might call an over-enthusiastic grandparent. That's why things turned out the way they did. The main reason why he was so excited about the pregnancy announcement was probably because Robyn said she wanted to come stay with us for her delivery. Robyn was raised in a single-parent household. She turned to us this time because her mom was too busy with work and couldn't accommodate her. Donovan was all too eager to help. "I want to welcome the baby in the best possible conditions," he said. With that, he started preparing. That was fine in itself, but for some reason, he insisted that I be involved in everything. "The crib should be this one. Just in case, get all types of baby formula. Oh, and we need to stock up on diapers too." He would arrogantly give orders. But I was busy with work and household chores. When I managed to find time to prepare amidst my busy schedule, I often received complaints that it wasn't right. "Not like that, I told you," he'd say. "That's not what I meant. Hey, enough is enough. I get that you're excited, but if that's the case, do it yourself. Stop relying on me for everything." He must have never imagined I would stand up to him like that. He was stunned into silence. "Our first grandchild, you know, and you say such distant things. I see it's because you're not related by blood to Rowan. You don't find him dear, do you?" "That's not it at all. Don't say such terrible things. You're just going too far. I thought Robyn wouldn't want to come if she knew you were doing all this. It doesn't seem like a relaxing environment." Donovan tried to retort, but couldn't find the right words. He clenched his teeth in frustration and went into his room. I shouldn't have said that much. It was just that he was too enthusiastic, and I ended up saying too much because I was being stubborn too. And to be spoken of Rowan in such a manner was shocking to me as well. I do want Rowan and Robyn to feel relaxed. That's exactly why I had to stop Donovan's reckless behavior. I wanted to make amends with him afterward, but he wouldn't come out of his room. With no other choice, I said through the door, "I'm sorry about yesterday. I'm off to work now," and left for work. That day, I had many troubles at work and returned home much later than expected. At this rate, dinner would be late. What should I make? Thinking about this on my way home, I found Donovan already sitting at the dining table, waiting. "I'm home. Sorry for being late. I'll make dinner as quickly as I can." There was no response from him. I moved around busily, trying to make dinner in a hurry. Donovan just sat there watching me, as if to pressure me. If he's going to be home anyway, he could at least make dinner. At the very least, he doesn't need to rush me like this. Finally, I managed to prepare grilled chicken and placed it on the table. "Sorry to keep you waiting. Let's eat." Without a word, he immediately started devouring the grilled chicken. "Were you that hungry?" I also took my seat and began eating the grilled chicken with my fork. Before I was halfway through my meal, he had finished eating. After finishing, he sat up straight and looked at me. "What?" I asked, and he replied in a low voice, "You're always about work, 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 neglecting the household chores." His unexpected words almost made me drop my fork. "What are you talking about? I'm not neglecting anything." "Don't play dumb. Like today, for example, just grilled chicken, no salad, no soup. That's unacceptable." Enjoying the story so far? Show your support by liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's dive back into the story. Indeed, I usually serve salad and soup with meals, but it wasn't out of laziness today. He was watching me so intently, as if hurrying me, that I thought he wanted to eat quickly. So I hurried things along. Even though I explained this, he seemed unconvinced. "It's not just that. You negate everything I say or do. You must be looking down on me because I'm retired now. You think you're better because you're working." "That's not true at all," I protested. But no matter how many times I denied it, he wouldn't be convinced. I was getting increasingly frustrated. "Let's stop this fruitless argument. Rowan and Robyn will be visiting soon, and I don't want to greet them in such a negative atmosphere." At this, Donovan smirked. "Yeah, that's right. I've been thinking the same. That's why I've come up with a great solution." "A great solution?" I tilted my head. He loudly said, "Rowan and Robyn are coming back for their childbirth, so you need to leave." What seemed unbelievable, but he wasn't joking. "Leave?" I asked again. He nodded with a smile. "I think things will go smoothly if you're not around. I've always thought so. I despise people like you who always argue with their so-called logical reasoning. There are plenty of other women out there." I was shocked. After decades of marriage, to hear such words, Donovan seemed to be getting carried away. His words flowed non-stop from his mouth, pouring a stream of complaints directed at me. "First of all, you lack respect for me, the head of the household. Always complaining instead of just listening quietly. Complaining I respect your wishes as much as I can, but it's you who keeps making unreasonable demands. Besides, shut up, shut up. I hate the way you talk, so arrogant talking down to me. Just be quiet and leave. I don't even want to see your face." Donovan slammed the table with force. At this point, it was clear that nothing I said would make a difference. I simply said, "Understood," and returned to my room. The next morning, I immediately called a moving company. After being treated that way, I wasn't going to stay any longer than necessary. Luckily, it wasn't the peak moving season, so I was able to get an estimate and book the movers without any trouble. All I wanted now was to complete everything while he was away. But he was almost always at home. So, what to do? As I worried, it seemed like divine intervention occurred. "I'll be going out for a bit from tomorrow," he said. He is the type who thinks everything resets after a night's sleep, so he spoke to me quite normally. Apparently, he was invited by his fishing buddies for an overnight trip. This was my chance. There was a slight awkwardness between us. Perhaps this time, even he realized he had gone too far. Yet there was no apology from him. Perhaps he was hoping to pretend yesterday's outburst never happened. He's always been like that. Until now, I've been the bigger person, turning a blind eye. But after what was said, I can't just let it slide anymore. The moving estimate came quickly. I planned to take all the furniture and appliances with me, but it was less than I expected. The issue was finding a place to move to, but that was resolved smoothly as well. A person named Sophia, whom I knew through work, offered to let me stay at her place, and it was a brand new building, no less. "Are you sure about this?" I asked again. "You have helped me so much," she said. So, I decided to accept the offer. I went to see the property right away. It was more than satisfactory, with no issues at all. I then completed the move while Donovan was away. Thanks to his tit-for-tat, I had no regrets. Perhaps I'd grown weary of life with him too. The night after I moved, Donovan called. Thinking, here it comes, I took a deep breath before answering the phone. "Hello, Ophelia, what is this? What's going on?" Even from his voice, I could tell he was panicking. I almost laughed, but responded calmly. "What do you mean? The house, it's empty. What's happened here?" "Oh, you told me to leave, so I did just that. I took everything from the latest appliances to my favorite dining table." "I just told you to leave, not to take everything from the house. That's crazy." "What? It would be crazy to leave them behind. I bought all those things with my own money. You said they weren't necessary and didn't contribute a cent." He fell silent. But after a moment, he managed to say, as if squeezing the words out, "Well, it's fine. Rowan and Robyn are coming tomorrow. We'll manage without the furniture. Imagine their surprise when they see that room." "Good. Then it worked out perfectly. Say hi to Rowan and Robyn for me." There was no point in continuing the conversation. I hung up quickly. There was another significant matter, but since he hadn't noticed, I didn't mention it. The next day, Rowan called to say, "We're almost there." "Didn't he tell you I've left the house?" "Really?" John seemed surprised, but didn't probe further. In fact, I sensed more relief than shock in his voice. "Wow, you're not there. We can do whatever we want then. You're not coming back, right?" "That's right. I always had a feeling, but John probably found me annoying. He didn't like that I didn't coddle him because he was a stepchild. "You're not as kind as other women," young Rowan once told me. "I thought I was raising him with love so he wouldn't struggle in the future. Well, it's better this way. We don't have to walk on eggshells around each other. Robyn wasn't fond of you either, so she'll be happy. Take care." Being overly talkative must be something he inherited from his father. After hanging up the phone, I found myself pondering this. I was somewhat on edge that day, making it hard to focus on work. I thought I might receive a call regarding the furniture and appliances. Previously, Robyn had mentioned, "Having all these appliances must make things so much easier for you." I secretly suspected that their return might be motivated by these conveniences. Contrary to my expectations, there were no calls that day. The call finally came at the end of the month. "Ophelia." I immediately knew the reason for my husband's hesitant call, but I pretended to be clueless. "What about the rent?" "Yes, what about it?" He probably wanted to ask for the rent due to his pride, but couldn't bring himself to say it. The rent for the apartment I lived in with Donovan was $1,700. I was the one paying for it all. My retired husband couldn't afford it. He might manage for a while using his retirement fund, but it would eventually run out. He should just come out and say it since he called, but he hemmed and hawed. Finally, I decided to confront him. "What? You're not expecting me to pay the rent for an apartment I'm not living in, are you?" No, I mean, you're the one who told me to leave, remember? And now you're coming back to me for help?" His pride wouldn't allow for such a request. As expected, he changed the subject. "Ophelia, are you okay? Do you have a place to stay?" "Yes, thanks to the kindness of people around me, I found a place. I'm living comfortably." Saying this would make it impossible for him to ask me to return. Not that I had any intention of going back, just to be clear. "Oh, that's good. Rowan and Robyn seem lonely. I thought maybe if you're willing, you could come back." This was something he would never say under normal circumstances. He must be desperate. But I had no intention of returning. "Really? But didn't both of them dislike me?" "No, that's not. Well, it's fine. I have something to discuss with you anyway, so I'll come over." "Yes, I needed to have a very important conversation for the sake of my future life." Mai replied brightly. "Yes, I'll be waiting." Later, I visited the apartment for the first time in a while. It's been a while. Donovan had dressed up unnecessarily. Dressing up wouldn't change anything. As we walked into the living room, I saw Rowan and Robyn sitting there. They must have realized they couldn't live like that for long. New furniture like a sofa, table, and refrigerator had been set up. Rowan waved casually while Robyn glared at me but greeted me nonetheless. The atmosphere was unpleasant. I wanted to get things done and go home quickly. Prompted by Donovan, I sat down in a chair. "So, what's this about?" Grateful that he broached the topic first, I decided to proceed with the conversation. "It's about this. I think it's best to handle these matters promptly and properly." Upon seeing what I handed him, his face turned pale instantly. "You're planning to divorce me?" He was trembling as he looked at the divorce papers I had filled out. "Yes, ever since you told me to leave, I've been planning to do just that. Did you really think I wouldn't take you seriously?" Donovan fell silent. It was probably spot on. When his emotions flare up, he tends to blurt out whatever is on his mind at that moment. This habit of not thinking about the consequences has reportedly caused him trouble at work multiple times. "I don't want to see your face. There are other women out there. What else was it anyway?" After being showered with every conceivable insult, I couldn't see a future with you anymore. He probably remembers saying those things, even if he didn't think them through. Donovan's head remained lowered, sweating profusely. "Yeah, I said it, but that wasn't... it wasn't what I really meant. You can't say such things without meaning them. I'm appalled." "Well, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I was shocked. I can't do this anymore. That's all." Looking directly at him, our eyes met. He immediately flinched and averted his gaze from mine. "Won't you reconsider? We've come so far together. After all we've been through, to be told such things, it's impossible. I can't be with you anymore." I stated my position firmly. He let out a long sigh. The silence was so intense it was almost painful. Unexpectedly, it was Robyn who broke that silence. "Excuse me. The one who's being most inconvenienced here is me." Turning towards Robyn, I tilted my head, and she glared at me with eyes full of resentment. "What do you mean? I thought it would be perfect here with you around. A clean house and all the latest appliances. I came here expecting to be fully taken care of. And now to be caught up in this marital dispute. It's a huge nuisance." Robyn let out an even bigger sigh than Donovan had earlier. She was angry with me because she had expected a pampered princess life here. But it didn't turn out as she had hoped. It was a complete misunderstanding. If she's unhappy, she can leave, go back to her parents' house or anywhere else. Her decision to stay here is her own. When I conveyed this, Robyn's face turned bright red with anger. What? How dare you speak to me like that after I went out of my way to come here? I never asked you to come. Robyn looked like she was about to scream. Her breaths were heavy and rapid. But that's ridiculous. I told my hopes to Donovan, and you have no idea how much I was looking forward to this. And now this. It's too much. Finally, Robyn burst into tears. John was beside her, trying to console her, but this made things a bit clearer for me. Donovan's excessive enthusiasm for his grandchild was likely fueled by Robyn's expectations. Being relied on and flattered probably went to his head, making him act like he was on top of the world. However, that doesn't change anything. Robyn was too upset to have a coherent conversation, and Donovan was still frozen in place, sweating. Staying here any longer was pointless. There's no use in me staying any longer. I'm going home. We'll settle the divorce through a lawyer. As I stood up, it was John's turn to shout. Running away, you coward! Not taking any responsibility and just stirring things up. I was shocked by the sheer unreasonableness. It was a classic case of blaming the victim. I approached John and stood by his side. Since he was sitting close to Robyn, I ended up looking down on him. What do you want? How old do you think you are? I'm 35. But I took a deep breath and glared at Rowan sharply. So what responsibility do you think I have to take care of a 35-year-old boy and his wife? Or maybe the responsibility to take care of a 60-year-old dad? John was gaping, at a loss for words. I couldn't stop myself anymore. All of you are adults. Enough is enough. Who's been stirring things up? Despite my best intentions to keep the peace, you've been using me like a stepping stone. You can't expect me to always smile and comply. Hey, calm down, Mom. Don't act like a child now. I had shouted so much that I was out of breath. I took a deep breath to steady myself. At least, John, I've always cared for you. I tried to raise you as my own child, but if that didn't come across, that's my fault. John started to say something, but then fell silent. I quickly grabbed my things and left the room hastily. No one followed me out afterward. My husband agreed to the divorce quite easily. We decided on no alimony for either side. He said he couldn't afford the apartment's rent and would move out. Donovan, who had never done any housework before, living alone from now on, will likely be a significant challenge for him. In a letter passed through the lawyer, written in the familiar handwriting of my ex-husband, it said, "Thank you for everything." He even suggested getting back together, but I firmly refused, and he seemed quite dejected. John and Robyn decided to move to Robyn's parents' house for their delivery. Robyn was reluctant, but John convinced her. After the divorce, John called me once. "I'm sorry for everything. I'll try to be a parent like you," he said, sounding embarrassed. Perhaps John hadn't disliked me as much as I thought. Maybe he just couldn't express himself honestly. I ended up buying the new house I was renting and still live there. Work is going well. I was a bit tired right after the divorce, but now I feel refreshed. The relief of not having to take care of anyone is immensely liberating. I don't know how many more years I can work, but I plan to do my best as long as I can. Of course, I'll enjoy my personal life too, and in my heart, I secretly wish for Rowan's happiness. Let's briefly conclude our story. Ophelia, having decided to leave her husband Donovan due to their irreconcilable differences, moves out and starts a new life in a rented house. Despite initial challenges, she finds solace in her newfound independence and focuses on her work. Donovan, realizing his mistakes, regrets his actions and attempts to reconcile, but Ophelia stands firm in her decision. Meanwhile, John and Robyn, despite their initial disagreements with Ophelia, begin to understand her perspective and appreciate her efforts. As time passes, Ophelia finds peace and contentment in her new life, cherishing the freedom to live on her terms and secretly wishing for the happiness of her loved ones. Thanks for watching. How did you find the story? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more awesome stories like this. Your feedback and support mean a lot.